My beloved child, pause here for a moment. Do not move past this message too quickly, because something has been waiting in the quiet spaces of your life, and tonight it has found you. There is one thing about your appearance that your soulmate noticed. One small detail. One quiet piece of you. And no matter how much they tried to act normal afterward, they could not forget it. It followed them into their thoughts like a soft light through a closed window. It came back to them when they were not expecting it. It returned in the middle of a conversation. It appeared when they were trying to focus on something else. And heaven wants you to know this was not shallow. It was not vanity. It was not just attraction. It was recognition. Their soul saw something in you before their mind was ready to admit what it meant. You may think people only notice what is loud, perfect, polished, or obvious. But the one who is tied to your destiny did not notice you the way others notice faces in passing. They paused inside. Their spirit became still. Something about you carried a message they could not explain. Maybe it was the way your eyes held both softness and survival. Maybe it was the calm expression you were even when storms have touched you. Maybe it was the way your presence looked simple to others, but unforgettable to them. Maybe it was something so ordinary to you that you never imagined it could stay inside another person's heart. But it did. And that is why you are here. Because what they noticed was not just your appearance. It was the evidence of your journey written quietly upon you. They saw something that made them wonder. Something that made them question why your image stayed with them longer than it should have. Something that made them feel as if they had seen you before, not in this life, not in this exact moment, but somewhere deeper than memory. They tried to dismiss it. They told themselves it was nothing. They looked away. They continued with their day. But the moment had already entered them. And once a soul recognizes what heaven has marked, forgetting becomes impossible. Listen closely now. There are people who look at you and see only the surface. They see what they want to judge. They see what they want to compare. They see what they want to misunderstand. But this person saw something different. They noticed a detail that carried emotion. A detail that spoke without words. A detail that made them feel as if your outer appearance was protecting a hidden world inside you. And that is where the mystery began. Because they did not just admire it. They wondered why it affected them. They wondered why something so simple could feel so personal. They wondered why you looked like someone they needed to know more deeply. This is the part you were not supposed to miss. They did not forget because your appearance impressed them. They did not forget because you looked like everyone else's idea of beauty. They could not forget because something about you felt true. And truth has a way of disturbing people who are used to pretending. Your soulmate has been surrounded by noise. People speaking. People advising. People pulling them in different directions. People telling them what they should want, who they should choose, what kind of life would make sense. But then your image entered their mind like a quiet interruption from heaven. No shouting, no pressure, no dramatic announcement, just you. And suddenly something inside them became unsettled. Not in fear, in awakening. They began to remember the way you looked in that moment. Not every detail, not perfectly, but that one thing, that one feature, that one expression, that one glow. That one quiet signature of your presence. And the more they remembered it, the more they realized it was connected to something they felt but had not spoken. This is why they became silent. This is why their energy shifted. This is why they may have acted distant, confused, or strangely careful. Because when someone sees you and their soul recognizes you, they do not always run forward. Sometimes they step back. Sometimes they become afraid of what they are feeling. Sometimes they ask themselves, why this person? Why now? Why can I not forget them? And heaven answers quietly, because this is not random. You have spent many nights wondering if anyone truly sees you. Not your effort, not your pain, not your heart hidden behind your smile, not the way you keep going even when nobody knows how heavy your days have been. You wondered if your presence had become invisible. But I tell you now, you were seen. And not by just anyone. You were seen by the one whose spirit has been circling yours without fully understanding why. There was something about your appearance that became a doorway into curiosity, then tenderness, then longing, then confusion, then realization. And now, that person is standing at the edge of a truth they cannot push away much longer. They may not have told you. They may not have confessed it. They may even be pretending nothing happened. But their silence is not empty. Their silence is carrying your image. And something is growing there. Something they did not plan. Something they did not control. Something heaven allowed to begin with one simple moment. You must understand this clearly. The thing they noticed about you was not chosen by accident. It was the very thing you may have doubted. The very thing you may have tried to hide. The very thing you may have thought was not special enough. That is how divine timing works. Heaven often uses the part of you that you overlook to awaken the one who is meant to recognize you. Where you saw imperfection, they felt warmth. Where you saw ordinary, they felt mystery. Where you saw something not worth mentioning, they felt something they could not explain. And because they could not explain it, they kept returning to it. Again, not with obsession, with wonder. They remembered how you appeared in that moment, and something in them softened. Their guard lowered. Their heart moved. A memory opened. They felt as if they were being reminded of a place they had never visited but somehow missed. That is what soul recognition feels like. It does not always arrive like thunder. Sometimes it arrives as a detail. A glance, a presence, a face remembered after the room has changed, a small thing that becomes impossible to erase. And now heaven is revealing this because you have been too hard on yourself. You have looked at yourself through tired eyes. You have compared your appearance to people who do not carry your assignment. You have questioned your worth because the world teaches people to measure beauty with shallow hands. But the one connected to you did not measure you that way. They did not need perfection. They were caught by presence. They were caught by meaning. They were caught by something written in you that even you have not fully accepted yet. And this is where the story becomes deeper. Because after they noticed that one thing, they mentioned you. Not loudly, not dramatically, not in a way everyone would understand. But your name, your image, or the memory of you came up. Someone around them heard something. A small comment. A careful sentence. A question disguised as casual curiosity. They tried to sound calm, but the energy behind their words betrayed them. Because people can hide words. They cannot always hide what a soul is carrying. Someone noticed that they noticed you. Someone sensed there was more behind their tone. And that is where another door opened. Because now this connection is not only moving inside them. It has begun to touch the atmosphere around them. Someone else may already know that you affected them. Someone else may already suspect that your presence means more than they are admitting. And your soulmate may be trying to hold everything together while their own heart keeps revealing what their mouth refuses to say. Do you feel why this message found you now? You thought nothing was happening. But something has been happening quietly. You thought they forgot. But forgetting became impossible. You thought they were not paying attention. But their attention landed on you in a way they did not expect. And now the very thing they noticed has become a seed of remembrance, a seed of longing, a seed of courage, a seed that heaven is watering in silence. Your soulmate has tried to return to normal. They have tried to convince themselves that the moment was small. They have tried to focus on other matters. But there is a strange ache that comes when the heart sees what belongs to its future before the mind is ready. They may smile when they remember you, then become serious. They may feel drawn toward you, then pull back. They may want to know more, then fear what knowing more would demand. Because recognizing you means changing something within themselves. It means admitting that their heart is not as untouched as they thought. It means accepting that one person's presence can interrupt their plans. It means facing the possibility that heaven placed you in their awareness for a reason, and that reason is becoming stronger. This is not the kind of attraction that disappears after a moment. This is the kind that deepens because it is tied to memory, and memory is powerful when heaven breathes on it. Your appearance became a spiritual imprint, a mark on their thoughts, a gentle disturbance in their inner world. They may not even know how to describe what they noticed. If someone asked them directly, they might struggle. They might say, "I don't know, there was just something about them." But that sentence carries more truth than they realize. There was something about you, something heaven placed there, something your pain did not destroy, something your waiting did not dim, something your loneliness did not erase, something still shining through you. And they saw it, even if only for a second. They saw it. But here is what you must not misunderstand. This message is not saying you need to become more beautiful to be loved. It is saying you are already carrying something unforgettable, even in the moments you feel unseen. You do not have to perform. You do not have to chase. You do not have to beg someone to notice what heaven has already marked. The right soul does not need to be forced awake. When the moment comes, even one detail is enough. And for your soulmate, that detail has already begun its work. It has entered places inside them that words have not reached yet. It has stirred thoughts they have not shared. It has made them question old choices. It has made them compare without wanting to compare. It has made them realize that not every connection feels alive. Some connections are convenient. Some are expected. Some are comfortable. But yours carries a strange pull. A pull that does not shout. A pull that waits. A pull that returns at night. A pull that appears in the quiet after distractions fade. And when it returns, they remember you. Not as a passing face. Not as a random person. But as someone who left an impression their spirit refuses to release. There is a sacred reason why you have been feeling restless lately. Part of you has sensed movement without proof. You may have felt emotional for no clear reason. You may have felt someone thinking of you. You may have remembered them suddenly. You may have wondered why their energy still feels near even when their words are absent. This is because spiritual connections often speak before physical circumstances change. Before a message arrives, the soul feels a shift. Before a confession is spoken, the heart senses pressure. Before a reunion begins, the atmosphere becomes charged with signs that are easy to dismiss. But you are not here by accident. This message is confirming that something unseen has been building. Your soulmate noticed what heaven wanted them to notice. And now they are wrestling with the meaning of it. They are not only remembering how you looked. They are remembering how they felt when they saw you. And that feeling is the true reason they cannot forget. Because your appearance was only the doorway. Your energy was the room. Your soul was the light inside it. That is what touched them. That is what stayed. That is what keeps returning. And every time it returns, they come closer to understanding what heaven has been trying to show them. They may have underestimated you. They may have assumed they could keep their heart under control. They may have believed they could decide everything with logic. But love sent by heaven does not always enter through the door people expect. Sometimes it enters through one detail, one moment, one glance that lingers too long in memory, one image that refuses to fade, and suddenly the heart begins asking questions the mind cannot silence. Why did I notice that? Why does it stay with me? Why do I feel calm when I remember them? Why do I feel nervous too? Why does this person feel familiar? Why do I keep wanting to know what they are doing? Why does something in me feel pulled toward them? They may not be saying these questions aloud, but heaven hears the questions forming inside them, and heaven also sees you, waiting, wondering, trying not to hope too much, trying not to care too deeply, trying to protect your heart because life has taught you that hope can hurt. But I need you to hear this with your whole spirit. Not every delay is rejection. Sometimes delay is preparation. Sometimes silence is not absence. Sometimes the person who seems quiet is the very person whose heart is becoming louder inside. Your soulmate is not indifferent. They are being confronted by remembrance. And remembrance is often the first step before revelation. The thing they noticed about your appearance is now connected to a deeper realization. They are beginning to see that you are not like the others. Not because you are trying to be different, but because your presence carries a history, a tenderness, a strength that has been shaped in private, a quiet beauty that does not ask for attention but still receives it from the soul meant to notice. And there is something else. Something they have not admitted even to themselves. When they remembered that one detail about you, they felt a strange sense of peace. Not loud excitement, not shallow desire. Peace. And peace frightens people who have lived too long in confusion. Peace makes them wonder if they have been choosing the wrong things. Peace reveals what chaos was hiding. Peace makes a person ask, what if this is where my heart was supposed to turn? That is why they are moving slowly. That is why the energy feels unfinished. That is why this message cannot reveal everything at once. Because heaven is showing you the beginning of a hidden process. A process that started with one small thing they noticed. But it will not end there. No, it will not end there. Because what they noticed has opened something they can no longer close. And soon they will have to decide what to do with the truth that is rising inside them. They will have to decide whether to keep pretending, or to speak, whether to hide behind logic, or to follow the pull, whether to let fear win, or to step toward the person their soul could not forget. And you, beloved one, must prepare your heart not by chasing, not by forcing, not by doubting yourself, but by standing in the truth that you were seen before you even realized it. You were remembered before you were chosen openly. You were felt before you were confessed. You were placed in their thoughts before their courage was ready. And now, something is approaching. A moment, a sign, a shift, a conversation, a quiet confirmation that will show you this message was not empty. Because the same detail they noticed will come back again. It will be mentioned. It will be hinted at. It will appear as proof that they were paying attention more than they allowed you to know. And when it happens, your heart will recognize it. You will remember this moment. You will remember these words. You will understand that heaven had been revealing the unseen before the seen caught up. But until then, listen carefully. Do not let insecurity rewrite what heaven is trying to reveal. Do not let past rejection convince you that you are forgettable. Do not let someone's delay make you believe your presence had no impact. You left an impression. You touched something inside them. You became a memory they could not erase. And the most powerful part is this. They are beginning to realize that what they noticed on the outside was only a sign of what they are being drawn to on the inside. Your appearance opened their attention, but your soul is holding it. Your presence caught their eyes, but your energy is holding their heart. And now, behind the silence, behind the distance, behind the careful pretending, something is happening that they did not expect. They are starting to compare every other feeling to the feeling they had when they noticed you, and that is dangerous for someone trying to deny love. Because once the heart has felt what is real, imitation becomes harder to accept. Once the soul has recognized a divine connection, distraction begins to lose power. Once heaven has marked someone in your memory, forgetting them becomes a battle you cannot win. Your soulmate is learning this now, quietly, slowly, deeply, and the next thing heaven is about to reveal is not just what they noticed. It is what happened after they noticed it. Because there was a moment after that. A moment you do not know about. A moment where their reaction exposed more than they intended. A moment where someone close to them saw the truth before they could hide it. And what was said next may change everything you thought you understood about this connection. A strange silence settled after that moment. Not the kind of silence that means nothing is happening. The kind that forms when too much is happening beneath the surface. The kind that appears when a person is trying desperately to keep control of emotions that no longer want to stay hidden. Because after your soulmate noticed that one unforgettable thing about your appearance, something happened that they never expected. Someone saw their reaction. Someone noticed the pause. Someone noticed the change in their expression. Someone noticed the way their attention lingered. And although your soulmate tried to act normal, the truth had already escaped through the smallest crack. You see, people often believe secrets are revealed through words. But many times they are revealed through energy. Through a smile that appears at the wrong moment. Through eyes that brighten unexpectedly. Through a voice that softens without reason. Through a memory that returns again and again until everyone nearby begins wondering what caused it. That is exactly what happened. The moment passed. Life continued. Responsibilities called. Distractions appeared. Conversations came and went. But something inside your soulmate remained fixed on you. Not every second. Not every hour. But often enough that it began creating questions. Questions they did not want to answer. Questions they were not prepared to face. Questions that made them uncomfortable because the answers felt too important. At first they convinced themselves it was curiosity. Then they told themselves it was coincidence. Then they said it was temporary. But the heart knows when it is lying to itself. And their heart knew. The more they tried to explain away what they were feeling, the stronger it became. Because what they were experiencing was not created by imagination. It was recognition. The kind of recognition that arrives quietly but refuses to leave. The kind that keeps returning during ordinary moments. The kind that suddenly appears while driving, while working, while sitting alone, while staring out a window, while trying to sleep. And each time your image returned, that one detail they noticed appeared with it. Not because it was physically perfect, not because it was dramatic, but because it carried a feeling. And feelings tied to destiny have unusual strength. One evening, when they thought their thoughts were finally settling down, your memory returned again. Unexpectedly, without warning, without invitation. And this time it stayed longer. They remembered your expression. They remembered your energy. They remembered that detail. And then something happened. A realization touched them so briefly that they almost missed it. For a single moment, they imagined what it would be like if you were actually part of their everyday life. The thought disappeared quickly, but not before leaving a mark. And once that mark appeared, everything became different. Because imagination is powerful, especially when it is attached to a divine connection. A person can ignore attraction. A person can dismiss curiosity. A person can deny feelings. But when they start imagining a future, even for a second, something changes. That is where the walls begin to crack. That is where resistance becomes harder. That is where truth starts finding a way through. Your soulmate felt this. And it unsettled them. Because they were not planning to think about you that way. They were not trying to imagine possibilities. They were not trying to create emotional attachment. Yet somehow it happened anyway. Slowly, naturally, without force, without effort. And heaven watched it unfold. Do you know what frightened them most? It was not the intensity of the feeling. It was the gentleness, the peace, the calm. Many people know how to handle chaos. They know how to handle drama. They know how to handle temporary excitement. But genuine peace confuses them, because peace feels unfamiliar, especially to someone who has spent years navigating uncertainty. And when they thought about you, something felt peaceful. That feeling lingered. It followed them. It stayed in the background of their thoughts. And no matter how many distractions appeared, it kept returning. Again, and again, and again, not demanding attention, just patiently waiting, like a light left on in another room, never shouting, never forcing, simply existing. That is when another strange thing began happening. Your soulmate started noticing reminders, small reminders, unexpected reminders, a song, a phrase, a color, a conversation, a certain look on someone else's face, little things that somehow connected back to you. And each reminder pulled the thread a little tighter. Each reminder made forgetting more difficult. Each reminder brought them one step closer to admitting something they had been avoiding. But heaven was not finished, because while they were wrestling with these emotions, something was happening inside you as well. There were moments when you felt strangely emotional, and every day it becomes harder to ignore. Heaven sees this. Heaven sees every thought they hide, every emotion they suppress, every question they avoid, every memory they revisit. Nothing is unseen, nothing is wasted, nothing is accidental. The connection forming between you is moving according to a timing larger than either of you can fully understand. And that timing is bringing you toward a moment that neither of you expected. But before that moment arrives, something must happen inside them. They must stop running from the truth. They must stop explaining away what they feel. They must stop pretending that your presence left no mark. Because the mark is already there, deep enough to influence decisions, deep enough to influence emotions, deep enough to influence dreams. Yes, even dreams. There have been moments when your energy has appeared in places they cannot control. Moments when their subconscious revealed what their conscious mind was trying to hide. Moments when your presence felt unusually vivid. Moments that left them waking with emotions they could not fully explain. And those moments have only increased the mystery. Because when a person appears in your thoughts repeatedly, it can be dismissed. When they appear in your dreams, it becomes harder. When they appear in both, the heart begins paying attention. Your soulmate is reaching that point now. A point where denial is becoming exhausting. A point where pretending feels heavier than honesty. A point where their spirit is growing tired of fighting what it already knows. And still, there remains one final obstacle. Moments when certain memories surfaced without reason. Moments when your spirit felt restless. Moments when your heart seemed to be sensing something before your mind could understand it. You may have ignored these moments. You may have dismissed them. You may have explained them away. Yet they kept happening. Because spiritual connections often move beneath awareness before they become visible. The soul feels movement long before circumstances reveal it. That is why some people suddenly enter your thoughts. That is why certain feelings appear without explanation. That is why some connections refuse to fade. Something deeper is communicating. Something deeper is preparing. Something deeper is awakening. And your soulmate was beginning to experience that awakening. There were nights when they told themselves they would stop thinking about you. Nights when they promised themselves they would move on. Nights when they decided everything would return to normal. But then your memory appeared again. Not aggressively. Not dramatically. Simply present. Simply alive. Simply impossible to ignore. They began asking questions they never expected to ask. Questions that made them uncomfortable. questions that challenged their certainty, questions that slowly changed the direction of their heart. Why does this person stay on my mind? Why does remembering them feel different? Why does their image bring peace? Why do I feel drawn toward them? Why do I keep noticing things that remind me of them? Why does it feel like something unfinished exists between us? Each question became another crack in the wall, and the wall was already weakening. What your soulmate does not fully understand yet is that heaven often introduces people through moments that seem small. A glance, a conversation, a detail, a memory, something ordinary, something easy to overlook. But hidden within that ordinary moment is a doorway, and once that doorway opens, the soul begins its journey. Your soulmate stepped through that doorway the moment they noticed you. They just did not realize it. Not then, not immediately, not even now completely. But realization is coming, closer than they think, closer than you think. And there is something else, something they have not told anyone, something they barely admit to themselves. They have replayed that moment more times than you would believe, not because they are obsessed, not because they are trying to hold on to the past, because something about it feels unfinished, incomplete, like a story that paused in the middle of a sentence, like a song that stopped before reaching its final note. Like a door that opened but never fully revealed what was behind it. That feeling remains. One fear, one hesitation, one uncertainty standing between them and the next step. They have not spoken about it. They have not revealed it. But heaven sees it clearly. This hesitation is not about whether they feel something. That part is becoming undeniable. The hesitation is about what happens if they act on it. Because acting changes everything. Acknowledging changes everything. Stepping forward changes everything. And change can be frightening, even when it leads toward something beautiful. Especially when it leads toward something beautiful. That is why your soulmate continues moving between courage and caution, hope and hesitation, trust and fear. But the balance is shifting, slowly, quietly, inevitably. And the more it shifts, the harder it becomes for them to stay where they are. Because the heart was never designed to live forever in uncertainty. Eventually it seeks clarity. Eventually it seeks truth. Eventually it seeks expression. Your soulmate is moving toward that place. Perhaps more quickly than they realize. Perhaps more quickly than you realize. Yet there is one part of this story that heaven has not revealed fully. Not yet, because it concerns a specific moment. A moment after they noticed you. A moment after the memory began growing stronger. A moment when someone unexpectedly asked them a question. A simple question. An innocent question. But the answer they gave exposed far more than they intended. And that answer created a chain of events that is still unfolding right now. The consequences of that conversation have not reached their conclusion. Not yet. But when they do, everything may begin moving much faster than either of you expected. And that is where this message must pause. Because what was said during that conversation, and who heard it, changes the story in a way you are not prepared to see just yet.